Since 1986, Metro Maintenance has provided fast, reliable service to its customers. The Metro team of highly skilled, trained service professionals deliver a full array of services. Metro Maintenance offers heating and air conditioning equipment and service, plumbing repairs and installations, complete electrical service, and general repairs and carpentry for both commercial and residential properties. Let the Metro Maintenance team handle all your service needs. Call today.
Welcome to the Salvation Army Thrift Shop, and we have got Matt Trantham, and you're the captain. Now, different titles, right? Not everybody who has been here heading the Salvation Army is a captain, correct?
Right. We have different military ranks that we associate with the Salvation Army Corps officer. They really have to do with the number of years that you've served. So being a captain, I'm one step above a lieutenant, but one step below a major. And those are probably the most familiar ranks that we have whenever you meet an officer.
Yeah, I've heard major before. And of course, we got Rip Wooden. Rip, glad you're here. And you are the chairman of the advisory board for the Salvation Army. And thank you for doing that. You retired as publisher of the Telegram, and I'm glad you're putting your life to good use.
Well, it seems it was sort of all happened at once that when I retired, it was my turn to take a leadership position in a number of different organizations.
Good.
And the Salvation Army is one that I've been a member of for, gosh, almost ever since I got here. Jim Dickens and Bill Kinchlow shanghaied me along with Bill Robbins, who is alive at the time, and convinced me that I should serve on the board. So I'd been on the board a number of years, and it just sort of became my turn to be the chairman.
And the Army is very dependent upon local volunteers too, isn't it, Matt?
We are. We couldn't do what we do without volunteers or the support of the community, and particularly the support of our advisory board members who are well-connected citizens that have connections in the city, have businesses themselves. Some are retired and have time to donate to the Salvation Army.
Perfect example.
Recruit volunteers, solicit funds for different programs and services we have. So I really look to them to advise me, because Salvation Army officers come and go every 3 to 5 years. We transition from one community to the next. So the needs might look a little different. The programs and services that we operate might look a little different, but the mission is still the same.
The advisory board is just that, although we do carry a little more weight. The advisory board can have impact whether we like a Corps commander or not, and we have helped some move on sooner than they perhaps expected to do. And especially with Matt and his wife Christina, she was a captain when he came. Matt was a lieutenant who recently was promoted to captain. And this was, I believe, this was your first full Corps command. And so the advisory board, I think we have really helped teach him a number of things, especially business practices. And I have been talking with Matt a number of different times about budgetary issues, and so things like that, we are really able to make a difference, especially with a young, impressionable officer as opposed to a grizzled veteran. And it also just so happens Matt and his wife have probably been our best Corps officers that I've ever seen here.
And what a nice thing to say.
And we are, and we are sorry to be losing them. They will be leaving in 7 weeks, and we will be getting another set of lieutenants from Winston-Salem. And the Salvation Army, in its infinite wisdom, I sometimes think, and sometimes don't, is they move people around regularly. If there is a retirement or perhaps even a death or something above, then everybody moves up a step as they try to fill it, and then they bring people in where they think that they will fit the best. And so Matt came to us from Charlotte, where he was, I guess, on the staff of the Charlotte Corps, and so he had good expertise in one areas, but needed to learn by doing on his others, and that's how the advisory board works. And we're able to help them in any way we can, and especially if somebody like me has some time to put into it.
And the bell ringing campaign, of course, is one of your key fundraisers of the year, isn't it?
It is. It generates probably a little more than 10% of the income that we raise in any given year. And it's really through the work of volunteers, advisory board members, and different businesses in the community that contribute time and effort to ring the bell and stand at a kettle and solicit donations for the Salvation Army, which ultimately support our programs year-round, not just at Christmas time. That's generally when the Army's in the public eye, and most people recognize us. But we do have programs and services that operate 365 days a year. So.
And we're going to get to these, and I also want to talk a little bit more, and we're going to show people the inside, and a lot of shoppers and people just really the great benefits of your thrift shop, not only as a fundraiser, but also as a service to the community to provide good items, good used items to people at good prices.
That's right.
But first, let's talk about the Salvation Army. I think some people, Matt, aren't as aware of the deep faith-based roots in your church. And how about talking about that?
Well, the Salvation Army started in 1865 in London, England, and it was born really by a former Methodist minister. He and his wife saw the need in the slums of England during the Industrial Revolution. They saw where churches might have been turning away the poor and not necessarily meeting the needs of the people and not sharing the gospel with everyone. And so the church at the time seemed to be this elite social class that didn't welcome the poor. And so he and his wife took it upon themselves to take the gospel to the streets, to take it to where people didn't want to go, to share the love of God and salvation of humanity and the story of Jesus. So they started doing that, and while William went to the East End of London to share the word and meet people's physical needs as well as their spiritual needs, Catherine went to the West End of London to raise money from those who had wealth and who had a heart that was to help others. So she raised money, helped him in the campaign, and lo and behold, the Salvation Army began. And since then has spread to over 128 countries around the world.
Wow.
And we've been serving Nash and Edgecombe County since 1921.
And so many of the people who choose a life to serve in the Army, such as you, had a parent or a family member as a role model that kind of led to their decision to do that. Did you?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
My wife did. She grew up in the Salvation Army with Salvationist parents. My parents, my father worked for General Motors in Detroit, Michigan. A lot of aunts and uncles worked in the auto industry. And when I was 14, we moved to Danville, Kentucky, a very small community from Detroit, Michigan. But I found the Salvation Army by going to play basketball in a gymnasium. I wanted to play in high school, needed a place to practice, and they invited me to church. And I didn't know the Salvation Army was a church. I thought it was a thrift store. I thought they rang bells. That was about all that I knew.
And youth programs.
But lo and behold, after attending services, meeting the Corps officer that was there at the time, who was a young lieutenant, he and his wife, they shared the gospel with me. They showed love to my brother and I, as well as several other young men who started going to the church. And over time, I fell in love with the mission of the Army. Our old motto was heart to God, hand to man. And I thought to myself, my heart should belong to God, and I should be doing everything I can to help my fellow man. And what better mission or sense of a calling in life do I need than that? And the Army encapsulated all of that by all of the services that they provide, feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, loving the unlovable, befriending those who have no friends. And I thought, I might be shy and quiet, but the Lord can use me if I trust Him. And so everything from being single and going to college and wondering whether God had a wife for me in my early 20s, I met my wife through being an officer in the Salvation Army. And I've been able to go and do things and see things in Peru and Chile and many communities in Israel. but many different communities in the southern U.S. where the Army is serving. And I've just been overwhelmed by the amount of joy that I have at the end of the day, knowing that I don't do what I do for money, I don't do what I do for any personal accolades, but because I'm doing the work of Christ. And that's the greatest thing I think anyone can do. So,
Rip, you probably know this, but one of the things that just really tugged at my heartstrings was your predecessor. I was saying when I heard that they were leaving, I said, gosh, moving's a lot of work, and was told, no, it's not. When you move, everything's there for you. You have very few personal possessions. That's part of who you are and what you believe. And so tell a little bit about that, because I think people, all of us who have so much junk we need to get rid of, and no better place than to bring, not your junk, but bring your stuff in. Let
Your
somebody
good
else.
junk.
But possessions are not important to you.
well, everyone who comes to be a Salvation Army officer has to go through a long, tedious interview process because it's a calling by God. It's not a profession that we sign up for and say, I want to do that. By going to the Salvation Army Church and finding a ministry and feeling and knowing that you're called to Salvation Army service, that's the starting point for someone to become an officer. And some people come when they're older, when they've already had a career or two. Some people,
Rip, I'm hearing it.
some people like me, I was a fresh college graduate, and I knew that the timing to go to seminary for the Army was right after college. So I didn't have much other than college debt. That's all that I had. But some people who have homes, who have boats, or who have houses and cars, they sell all of that. And they give all of it to the Army. And then the Army then provides for them a place to live, cars to drive, furniture in a house, an office to work out of, and a pulpit to preach from. And we move from community to community, really only taking the food in the fridge, the clothes in the closet, some pictures off the wall, and maybe a television. And
Wow.
everything that my wife and I own can fit in the back of a 25-foot truck. So it's crazy when you move and you're just sitting up there in the front seat with your puppy and like, this is our life. We're just going to go plop somewhere else. And
If these were ever modern day disciples, Matt is a great example.
He sure is. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about programs, and I want to talk about your thrift store and how the community can support the wonderful work that y'all are doing.
wonderful.
Okay, be right back.
Since 1986, Metro Maintenance has provided fast, reliable service to its customers. The Metro team of highly skilled, trained service professionals deliver a full array of services. Metro Maintenance offers heating and air conditioning equipment and service, plumbing repairs and installations, complete electrical service, and general repairs and carpentry for both commercial and residential properties. Let the Metro Maintenance team handle all your service needs. Call today.
Hi, I'm Jean Almond of Almond's Drugs, and I want to invite you to be Almond's customer for your prescriptions. Our average pharmacy wait for your prescription is only 10 to 15 minutes. We have drive-through windows at both locations. We will deliver your prescription free. Our friendly and very experienced pharmacists specialize in consultation, and we are locally owned and have been a loyal part of your community for over 70 years. Just make one phone call to us and we'll make the transfer so we can start taking care of you. Welcome back to the Salvation Army Thrift Store, and we're going to give you a tour of it in just a few minutes. We've got Rip Wooden and Matt Trantham. Glad you're both here, and we do want to learn a little bit more about the programs, the budget, and whatnot. Y'all want to just you want to start with the programs and the different areas that you address of need in the community, Matt?
Sure. Most people know that the Salvation Army runs a couple thrift stores or family stores in town, which help to supply clothing, donated items to families who are either victims of fires or also come to us just in need clothing, need fresh clothes for kids going back to school. That's primarily the purpose of the thrift store, also through the sales to generate funds that will help supply money for the rest of our programs, which have to do with youth character building. We send several kids to our camp, which is outside of Denton, North Carolina, the Lexington area, throughout the year. Kids learn how to play brass instruments, how to dance, how to do any type of creative art that we offer. And then we also have a seniors program that operates twice a week. Part of it is funded by the United Way, the other part is funded through programs that we have, such as the Family Store, that offers weekly programming for seniors for education, worship, service, and fellowship, as well as exercise. There's a group that meets on Tuesdays to exercise.
Is that on Paul Street?
It is.
Okay.
420 Paul Street. On Tuesdays is exercise, and on Wednesdays they have men's and women's programs, and then they have a combined program together. 10 o'clock are the individuals, 11 o'clock is when they all come together. And they also share a meal every Wednesday. But we've had guest speakers come in and educate them from the police department, from the city, from different pharmacies and things to talk about vitamins and health care, and how to cut down on their utility bills, how to be well-minded about crime and things that are happening in the community. And then beyond that, we have, of course, our social services program, which will help people with food. It'll give them vouchers to come to our Family Store, and then we also help them to pay their rent or utility bills, which can be quite an emergency when you're about to be evicted and face possibly moving into a shelter. Mm-hmm. So we help prevent homelessness in the fact that we can help people pay bills who qualify for assistance, which serves a great basic need in our community.
Give us an idea of just how much that is. I know we've got some figures there.
Throughout the year, we help roughly 2,750 families in the Rocky Mount, Nash, Edgecombe County area, totaling probably $238,000 worth of services, right. Everything from clothing to food to rent and utilities. And the city helps us with some of that funding through their WARM program, and then the United Way works through EFSP, the Emergency Food and Shelter Program, to provide funding as well. So lots of different organizations chip in, and lots of different people contribute to our fundraising efforts and to all that we need in order to meet these needs of the citizens of Nash and Edgecombe County.
I think probably at least 25% of our annual budget or more is spent funneling services into the community. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that any other organization can say that. Mm-hmm. And everyone is, there are lots of great nonprofit organizations in the area, and they generally deal with one specific topic, like My Sister's House or others like that. We deal with a whole range of people and a whole range of issues, and that is sort of, I guess, our calling. Mm-hmm. And what you're going to see today here at the thrift store is not what you would think is a normal rundown looking thrift store. We spent $220,000 renovating it a year ago, so that it will be a very nice place to shop.
And you own it now, right? The
Yes,
Army owns
the Army.
building.
We did buy it, and we have a store here, and we have a store in Tarboro. Mm-hmm. And that a lot of the money or the profit that is generated from those stores goes right into programs. They help. That's what helps fund these programs. Mm-hmm. And unlike other stores where they may either be literally a for-profit store where the money goes out of the community, or some stores pay their executives a higher amount of money than certainly anybody in the Salvation Army gets. Everything that we get goes back into programs.
We can certainly, after hearing, kind of your lifestyle, that certainly underscores that the dollars, anything that you give, it either goes to help somebody provide clothes, provide items for people in need, or the money generated from selling it goes right back into the community.
Roughly 83 cents of every dollar that is raised goes directly to programs and services. We have a very low overhead for administrative costs. But also, the money that was used to renovate the store didn't come from thrift store appropriations. It didn't come through our bell ringing campaign. It came from reserves. We've had a lot of generous folks in the community who have left different wills and estates and endowments to the Salvation Army, and so from the interest that we earn off of that, and through any overage that we haven't accounted for, in which we do really well in the store, we try to put it in reserves for a rainy day in case we need to replace lights or do any property issues. And for years, we've saved up enough money to renovate the store.
That's admirable in itself.
We didn't have to take out a loan.
Good.
We didn't have to ask the community for money. We tried to manage our money to the best of our ability to be prepared for that as a project. So
Give us a tour around, because we want to show people the various, what things do you sell here? What can people contribute that then you can turn around and resell?
well, if anyone wants to donate furniture or a dishwasher or a stove or anything big and bulky, you can call the Salvation Army and we will come and pick it up from your house. And then also, we will take clothing. You can bring clothing to one of our drop-off locations. We have 2 bins over at the Harris Teeter Shopping Center, which most people give to their, but household items, gently used things that are resellable. If it's garbage, we don't want it. We need it. Everything we bring in, we have to sort and process and price. And some things that we get, you wouldn't believe. There's almost always a hidden treasure somewhere that's worth something, and we try to look it up and assess a value, see what it's going for on eBay, and mark it down a little bit from there. So anything that you can give to us that is either clothing, a household item, furniture, paintings, pictures, I mean, all of that stuff sells in our store, and antiques. So
Gene, I brought it, just as an example, I brought in 4 suits,
Wow.
you know, an hour ago that seemed to have shrunk over the years, and I no longer seem to fit. So they don't need to be just sitting in my closet. I hope that there is they will look very good on a size 38 out there sometime soon.
Good.
yeah.
Well, and people need to feel, I mean, they can really feel good about what they're bringing, but an added bonus is they get a receipt for it because they're giving it to a nonprofit, so it has tax value too.
Yes.
Right. It functions as a tax write-off, and when you donate to the Salvation Army, you know, you can expect change in your community. Whether it's that you come in and shop and look for a bargain and buy something that we've already sorted and deemed it worthy of being sold. We don't sell trash. We do our best to try to keep it through our sorting system and throw it away if it's not sellable. But most of the jeans that I own at home came through a Salvation Army thrift store. Some of the dress shirts that I have came through a family store. So you'll never know what you're going to get, and people who come and donate make a difference in addition to those who come and shop.
And they enjoy coming back to see what is new. And
There's
the way
fresh
the
stock
store,
every day.
the way the store is successful is if we have a continual flow of donations and new items that come in. So that's very important, and we depend on the community to provide that to us.
And it's good if it's clean when it comes. What about on hangers? Is that something, do you want people to bring things on hangers, or?
We'd prefer not to, but some people will wash the clothes before they give them to us, and they'll stack them in a garbage bag and then bring them to us that way. That's probably the easiest way, because anything that's already clean and smells like it was used with, they had detergent and they washed it, it goes straight to hangers and is out on the floor.
Super.
So that's the best way you can donate. When you bring hangers, we end up throwing away all the hangers or recycling them, simply because we have a standard hanger that goes out on our racks. So.
And people need to come in with a list of what they're giving, not stand there and write it up as they're giving it. Correct?
Right.
Would that be helpful?
We can't assess the value of it. We have a website that we can turn people to, and then from there they can report on their taxes the value of it. All we can do is write a voucher that says this is what you've donated, and if you have a list, we can staple our little note to your list and verify that that's what you gave to us. So.
Well, we're gonna miss you, and
Yeah.
Rip, I'm sure. But tell us a little bit about the new people coming. Have you met them?
Well, I just know their names. Matt knows them. It's Lieutenants Whitaker and Whitaker.
Yeah.
And they're coming from Winston-Salem, where they were, I don't know the appropriate name, but I would call them junior or assistant officers to the commanding officer of the Winston-Salem, it being a larger city. So again, this is their chance to have their own command as they come here. So and they have some children, and so they will jump in and be part of the community right away.
Super. Well, and I remember last year the bicycle giveaway. That's another example of something you do at Christmas time. You've got toys, you've got bikes, you've got stuff to help families that
And we have, again, a lot of our partners, whether it's Rocky Mount Engine Plant that supplies us with a number of workers who come in and help in packing boxes for Thanksgiving, then for Christmas, and then dispensing them. And then there are a number of people like the Harley Davidson group that raises money so that we can buy the bikes for these kids. I mean, we gave away 40 or 50 or more bikes last
80,
year.
80 bikes just through the Spokes group, which the bikes were purchased through the Rocky Mount Harley Davidson Hog chapter.
So I mean, it's community partners like that who really enable us to do a good job, not just a regular job, but a good job. So everybody, we make an impact.
Well, and so please bear this in mind when you think about where you want to put your dollars that would have greater good, just wonderful good in our community, and bring things to this wonderful thrift shop. At least come take a look at it and see if you want to buy some stuff if you don't have anything to donate. And Matt, best wishes to you and Christine, and thank you so much for what you're doing, Rip, and hang in there. You've got new people to work with.
Can hardly wait.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Since 1986, Metro Maintenance has provided fast, reliable service to its customers. The Metro team of highly skilled, trained service professionals deliver a full array of services. Metro Maintenance offers heating and air conditioning equipment and service, plumbing repairs and installations, complete electrical service, and general repairs and carpentry for both commercial and residential properties. Let the Metro